Hello and welcome back. Another week, another 5 chapters of boyfriend material. We're really getting close. Like, the more, obviously this is how it works, but the more I read, the more, like, the book becomes small, like, the other side becomes smaller, and I'm like, wow, we're really finishing this off. But this week we have the end, the finish, the conclusion of the Beetle Drive, the thing that we have been building up to, and the start of Oliver's parents' anniversary. I was like, what event was it again? It was so, because obviously I read this before, I was like, it was so rich and fancy, I don't even remember what it was for again, but their wedding anniversary. So obviously, if you have read this / reading along with me, which you would still have read these chapters by now, you would know we've got some interesting. We're going in these chapters. It all starts all happy-go-lucky, but then we really get some like Oliver insight. Like, we haven't had this, and it's been fun, and I've been waiting for it because I was like, no way they're not going to give us anything on Oliver throughout the whole book. Like, we need to know more, like, the way he's too perfect. And that's not a bad thing. We love perfection. You know what I mean? We love that vibe and that thought process, but no one's perfect. No one's perfect, doesn't exist, doesn't happen. And I was like, and not to say that he's not fantastic, amazing, and, like, perfect in my eyes, yes, but I was like, we need to see, like, where, you know, where he comes from, what's going on. He's definitely got like sides and aspects, and we see it poke out, and obviously he's got a personality, not to say that, but I was like, where's the juice? Like, where's all that like goodness of, like, you know, how he was brought up and how he was raised and what made him him. And I feel like this is what we get, and we get a lot of insight into it, so it's absolutely fantastic. If not very interesting to read and tough to read in certain points, but we will get into that. For now, we will be going into chapter 41. So we start at the Beetle Drive. The professor, the doctor, is making her speeches, all beetle related. Beetle, practically. We know she doesn't care about people, and I kind of love how fun that is. I love that she absolutely hates people. It's so funny that to me that she's just in this room full of people that she ultimately needs the money from, and she's like, I hate, like, if all these people died and could just give their money to the Beatles, I would be happy. And I love how dumb that is, but it's so fun. I love how much I want to love something as much as she loves her Beatles. You know what I mean? But we're going in, we've got Oliver by our side, like, giving us that confidence, helping. He can come in, he can talk to people, he can show how great we are. And it first brings up with Tamara and Adam Clark, the fun people that we went and had lunch with, and we hated every fucking second of it, but it was at that vegan restaurant with that fun lady. But so we're talking to them, we're doing our little bits, and obviously Oliver, being Oliver, is fantastic. Like, we get introduced, and he's like, oh, you're the couple behind Gaia. They light up. They're just elated to hear that someone, like, knows about it, wants to talk about it. All these rich people, I love. Like, they all have their, like, businesses, and anyone brings it up, and it's, like, probably the thing that they talk about the most anyway, and then continue to talk about. It's just, I love how much you just, like, everyone knows how to completely pander to what they want to talk about, and obviously that's Luke's job, but even Oliver knows exactly where to go and just like, haha, yes, let's talk about this because we know you will love that. Adam seemed oddly distracted, considering their business, and by extension themselves, had always been the Clark's favourite topic of conversation. Then I noticed his gaze kept catching on my hand, still resting in Oliver's. And, you know, that gave me a bit of a dilemma, because from a certain point of view, it was my job to make these people comfortable. But, from a different point of view, fuck him. I jumped through a stack of hoops over the past couple of weeks to satisfy the Adam Clarks of this world, but not holding hands with my boyfriend, my very nice, very respectful boyfriend, who nobody could possibly disapprove of, was a hoop too far. And if Adam and Tamara decided to take their checkbook home because they went to a party and saw two guys being mildly affectionate to each other, well, then they could explain that to all their TT friends. Trendy lefty friends. Oh my god, why can I not read? But there's just this, like, layer of, like, complete and utter, like, homophobia. And it's just the fact that he, you know, in the last chapters that we saw him was like, no, like, we don't have a problem with the gay thing. It's just, he practically said, it's not a problem with the gay thing, it's the gay thing. And you just, like, they all fall under the same umbrella, dickhead. Like, just because you're, like, it makes no sense to me. I'm just like, I feel like you've actually got a problem with it and you need to address that yourself, because you're not fully there yet. For as, you know, like, earthly save the earth healing crystals as you might want to be, I feel like a gay person's not gonna hurt you. Like, calm down. Also, stop looking at our hair. Granted, oh my god, sorry, can we go on a complete sidetrack for a second? Because I've just been reminded of this, and I was talking to someone about it. I think I was at, I had to collect my thoughts. Over New Year's, I was at a party on New Year's Eve, and someone was talking about, like, how, like, as a gay person, do you it was with a couple of friends. I don't remember. How, as a gay person, do you interact when you see, like, couples in the street, like, holding hands and stuff? Because they were trying to be like, oh, as a single person, are you completely jealous? And I was like, actually, I experience this all the time when, like, walking around the city, because that's just where all the people are, and you're more likely to run into couples and gay couples. But I was like to them, I do the exact same thing every time I see, and this is nearly very specific, a gay male couple walking, because I'll be walking along, minding my own business, I'll see, like, two men, like, closer together than, like, friends would be sometimes, and then I'll, like, kind of stare at the, I'm a bad starer, I know it, I feel bad about it, but I, like, look at, like, certain things that spark, like, thoughts in my head, start thinking about things, but then forget I'm also blankly looking at whatever I'm staring at that has elicited thoughts, and then just, like, drone off. And I bet people catch me staring all the time, and I am none the wiser, because I'm in my mental world thinking about different things, just staring at it. I'm just horrible at it. I forget it. I catch myself doing it all the time. But if I see, like, two men, and then I'll, like, look at them, and then if they're closer, I'll, like, look down, and then, like, generally couples hold hands. It is disgusting. We hate it. We hate all couples that hold hands, because I am single and it hurts my soul. But I'll, like, look at them, and then I'll, like, stare at their hands, and then I'll think, because I go into my mental world, and I think, oh, like, that's cute, like, I love, you know, we love love, like, woo, gay rights, we love you men, oh, jealousy, jealousy, jealousy. And that's what starts going around my head, and I'm just thinking about how single I am, but then I catch myself staring at the hands, look back up, usually they're looking at me, because I've got eyes down, looking, they're giving me, like, I'm giving them homophobic eyes, and then I have to do, like, a weird smile. I always go, because obviously I'm not homophobic, I'm looking at them being jealous, and they're looking at me, holding their hands, thinking that I'm about to, like, perform a hate crime, and it is just a complete an utter disaster of it. So maybe Adam is secretly gay. That's where we're going with that. Sometimes when you're looking at people hold hands, it isn't homophobic or hate crime-esque. Sometimes you're just a crazy person like me. But I didn't think of that until right then, and then the memory flooded back to me. So there's my fun story for this one. we have gone into podcast section instead of book, but we're back on it. We're back into the Beetle Drive. So basically, Oliver does a fantastic job, as you would expect him to, with the Clarks, like the awful Clarks, not like the good ones. And Luke's, like, he's thanking him for everyone. He's been super cute. Like, Luke is in love. Luke is fucking in love as stuff. But he's like, you shouldn't have to, like, you know, pretend to like them and pander to them. And he's like, it's exactly what you needed me for. Well, didn't that feel all complicated and confusing-y? Because he was right, having someone who could convincingly fake an interest in me and my donors and had been the whole plan, but seeing it in action, especially how I genuinely liked him, made the whole thing icky. You're better than this. Better than what, Lucian? His eyes gleamed softly at me. Better than being polite to people I don't particularly care about at my partner's work event. Yes? He brushed his lip against my brow, hiding his smile. I've got news for you. For those of us not raised by 80s rock legends, this is just life. It's fine. I'm happy to be here with you, and later we can go home and laugh about it all. When we go home, I told him firmly, there won't be time for laughing. You have no idea how good you look in those trousers. Oh shit. Across the room, the doctor is interacting with a guest. I repeat, doctor is interacting with a guest. We should be scared. We should be worried. She hates people. Only dung beetles. Let's be worried. So basically, Luke has to rush over and save people because these people are giving monies and the doctor is, let's just say, blunt. We'll say blunt. Like, it's not... I don't ever think she's actually trying to be that rude. She's not made to talk to people, as it would say. But she's just kind of like going in on someone. And obviously, Luke has to do damage control, and Oliver, being the best person ever, swoops in to help. Lucian told me all about your monograph on rove beetles. She subjected him to her. I was going to say her most intense gaze, but her gazes were almost all equally intense. Has he? Yes, I was wondering if you could clear up some of the finer points of their behavioral relationship with ant colonies. My God, was this what love felt like? I'd be delighted to. The doctor looked the closest to happy I'd ever seen her, which wasn't very, but it's an intricate subject and there are too many distractions here. So I love it. She takes Oliver away because she is absolutely so excited to talk about how the beetles interact with ant colonies, not getting that she is nearly completely fucked up all this talking stuff, which is hilarious. But it buys Luke the time he needs to just completely charm, and he does such a good job. He's charming this couple who has money, and one of them like kind of doesn't want to like give the money. She's kind of like, why would I give money here when we could give it to somewhere else? And Luke's like, well, you know, anywhere you give money to, you could be giving it to someone else. And that's a whole thing, which is, it's a very like, you know, who needs what more, which is like a whole dilemma. But he's basically like, well, this is important too. He's like, I'm not going to be honest with you and be like, well, you know, it's as important as this thing. But he's like, it's a good enough deal. But basically, at the end, he tries to go save Oliver from the doctor because he's like, I don't need you to hear about ant colonies for the next 4 hours of your life. I know she will talk about it, but Oliver, he's like, practically, since I love you so much now, I have to save you. I'd been in Oliver's position myself a bunch of times because the doctor seemed genuinely unable to comprehend that other people might not find beetles as fascinating as she did, and I never mustered even half as much poise, grace, or straight-up sincerity as Oliver was showing right now. It was just so fucking heart emoji that I actually had to take a moment. And then I realized the longer I stood around in a sea of swoon, the longer Oliver was going to have to talk about bugs. So I went to rescue him. Luke's in love. Luke's in so much love that it hurts, and I love, and it's cute, and it's adorable. Like, just like, I think back to the earlier chapters, and I was like, these are different. Well, Oliver's fairly simple. He's definitely come out of his shell, especially in the sex. I like seeing him like completely change personalities, but having like Luke just like have all these emotions and feelings, and we keep seeing it, and as we go on we see it like, you know, he's just kind of like, well, like, oh, I like the people, I like work, I'm liking things, I'm enjoying life, and a lot of that is attributed to Oliver and just kind of getting him out of his funk. And it's so cute. But we go into chapter 8:42. We're like, it's dinner time. We should go eat. What are we getting? Really fancy food. Excited. But as we know, and as I talk about any chance there is a food topic to bring up, fancy food means not a lot of food usually. And Luke and I, again, same fucking person. Because we were both complaining about how there was no food and we're still hungry. And I love that. I love that for both of us. I'm not even there. And I'm like, yes, I agree with you. Bring us some more entrees. Bring us some more mains. Get us double dessert, please. But Luke is looking around, because obviously they're on the staff table, and he's kind of thinking, wow, everyone's done a really good job. Why am I thinking this? I don't know. But have I become nice and sentimental? Maybe. Look, I began, not quite believing what was coming out of my mouth. I know I can sometimes be a total bellend. That was Tasman. I never met Tasman. How did Tasman know I was a total bellend? I glared at Reese Jones Bowen. Reese, is that the first thing you tell people about me? Pretty much. He was doing the beard stroking he did when... Actually, I'd still not worked out what it meant. I mean, to be fair, I usually say, apart from that, he's a pretty decent fella. Straight after. But people do seem to get stuck on the bellend part. Then again, you don't do yourself any favours. Okay, fine. As I was about to say, despite being a total bellend, I'm incredibly proud of all the work we've done, and tonight wouldn't have happened without every single one of you. So thank you, and I actually picked up a fucking glass. Here's to the lot of you. To just show that, I feel like he spent a good majority of the first chapters literally shitting on all of them, and he still will continue to shit on them. But I feel like in a more playful way. Like, he kind of is enjoying their company. He knows they're, like, working hard with him. They're all striving together. They actually can be really nice and useful people. Like, I feel like nice and useful sounds like you're using them. But when you actually are friends with someone, that's just back and forth, you know. It's not nice and useful. People will do things to you and you will do things for them, and that's like a relationship and friendship. And I think he realizes that maybe making everyone mad and annoyed at me all the time is not the way to go, and when we all do nice things for each other, things runs actually fairly smoothly, and it's kind of great. So I enjoy it a lot. So Sophie and Ben show up, our friends we met at the dinner party last, ready to splash some cash, just here because they want to get away for the kids, which is so hilarious. But Oliver's like chatting to them, we're talking, we're having some fun, they're enjoying it because they're like, everyone here's weird, but we kind of like it, so that's really cute. And Luke's just like, well, I've got to go keep working, but Oliver, stay, and he's like, no. You stay here. You've been heroic enough this evening. Don't say that, Sophie winced. He loves playing the hero. The last thing he never needs is encouragement. Oliver shot her a sharp look. That's not true. I just think it's important to be useful. Useful, dear, is for dogs and crescent wedges. Friends and lovers should care for you even when you're not a blind bit of good to anybody. Okay. I gave an exaggerated sidestep out of an imaginary firing line. Now I'm definitely leaving you to it. So we finished up the Beetle drive. Speeches were done. Money was made. We talked to a couple more people. We packed up. It was just one of those things. It was like, it was a good night. And like, that is so exciting to see for Luke, like for this thing that we've built up for so long. It went pretty quickly, but I feel like that's one of the things I like about this book is the pace is very quick. We're not on a lot of things for a very long time, which is good. It's very quick. It's very snappy. I like how much we get to move through, especially since I am excited of the bits that we have read from the anniversary, and I do want more on that. But we don't actually have that long left, so we're probably not on that for a lot either. But the end of this chapter was very fantastic. Thank you for tonight, I told him, somewhat slurrily, resting my head against his shoulder. You can stop thanking me, Lucian. But you were amazing. You were nice to everybody, and everyone liked you, and you talked to the doctor, and you didn't punch the clerks. You shouldn't listen to Sophie. He shifted in a little uncomfortably. I don't need you to act like this was anything special. My brain stumbled over something, but was too foggy to see what it was. Why are we talking about Sophie? We're not. I just didn't want you to think that I think that... I don't know. I'm not really thinking much at all right now, but this evening went really, really well for me, and part of that was you. I remembered something else important. You also look really hot in a black tie, and the moment we get in, I'm going to... The next time I was aware of, well, anything, I was in bed, and Oliver was taking off my clothes in a tragically unerotic way. Come here, I made a plaintively pawing motion. We're going to do all of the sex things. Yes, Lucien, that's exactly what's happening now. Good, because you're so wonderful, and I really want... And did I mention you look really hot in that? Then I opened my eyes, and it was dawn, and Oliver was fast asleep beside me, looking all peaceful and stubbly and perfect. And in the one hand, I was annoyed I had been too knackered to fuck him 6 ways to, from, or possibly on Sunday, but there he was, warm and curled up against me, holding me tight, in his strangely protective, strangely vulnerable way. And, you know, I guess that was okay too. Okay, the interesting thing I wonder, besides it being like cute and adorable and fucking like... Oliver's got issues. Oliver has, like... I understand it, like he doesn't... I feel like he has a problem with... Not a problem with, that's like a harsh word, but I think he's got some hang-ups, some like issues possibly. This is all like, I am diagnosing this character, definitely could all be wrong. But how I feel is he's got some hang-ups about like compliments and praise. And as we move on meeting his parents, we can assume that is possibly a big reason for it. But, you know, when he's like, you know, you're my hero, you're doing amazing, thank you. And he's like, I just did what I had to. Like, this is my... He kind of doesn't, like, associate that, like, going and doing these things and going beyond for people to others is really good. And I feel like we really get to know when he talks about how... when we meet his parents and the Ruby wedding anniversary, that is his life. Like, that's how he was raised in this kind of really fancy fucking life. I think he's always spent a lot of time dealing with rich people and just pretending to be kind and polite and liking them. That's something where he has always been in that sort of area. So he has had to do that. But for Luke, he kind of does this once a year at the Beetle Trial. He does it for his work, but that's not how he is. You know, he's like, I like the people I like, and if not, I don't like them, and I'll stand up for myself, and I will tell them off if they've been homophobic, or they're annoying, or they're just shitty personalities. Like, other than that, Luke's like, I'm not taking that. That's not what I want to deal with. But Oliver's are very like, this is just how the world works. This is what you have to do. This is like the connections. That's his life. So to him, he's not doing anything different. He's kind of just like, well, I'm just talking to old rich people is what I'm used to. And for Luke, seeing him do that so well and perfectly, obviously Luke's going to be like, you're amazing. You're doing this all so well. Like, I thank you so much. It's amazing. But he's just kind of like, well, it's fine. Like, it's... And I feel like he needs to be able to appreciate that that's something that Luke wouldn't expect anyone to do for him. And he should just be like, well, I'm happy to do it for you. It's more like, oh, it's not nothing. You know, Luke wants him to know that it was special. It's just a little bit of this communication thing, which obviously I think is not the biggest thing. And obviously everyone's always got to be working on something all the time with their personality. Like with the way they interact with people. Everyone's always learning. I'm always learning about different things, how to interact with others. It's just an interesting thing that I wanted to pick up there. But we move on to chapter 43. So Luke's at work, he's having a good time, he's actually kind of enjoying everyone and enjoying what he does. And the doctor is actually coming and talking to everyone for once. I additionally commend your choice of Mr. Blackwood. He was by far the least insufferable part of Saturday evening. Maintain a relationship with him and bring him next year. It was just a cute little bit. Even the person that hates people was like, he's pretty good. But jumping down, because we're getting ready to go, you know, work day's over. Does he do a lot of work? Yes, he does, but Luke's also doing other things. I also made a sneaky booking at Quo Vadis. I think it's the French restaurant from their first date. Don't know how to say that word in the slightest. For the day after Oliver's parents do, which yes, was embarrassingly sentimental, but the alternative was turning to him in the car on the way home and saying, "Hi, how about being a fake boyfriend for real?" And that didn't feel like enough. Of course, this might be too much, but given the choice between making Oliver think I didn't care about him and making him think I was a creepy weirdo, actually, those were both really bad. Fuck. This was hard. Romance was hard. How did you do romance? I love how much he's overthinking this. So, and it's absolutely like crazy that he's getting ready to be like, do you actually maybe want to be my real boyfriend? Because they are like nearly kind of real boyfriends anyway. And they do like each other and they do have this good spark and they're like learning from each other, which is fantastic. But they still have this like big bold letters of fake relationship. Like it's not real. There's even though, you know, they've had sex, they're meeting each other's parents, they're doing all these things together, they still have this, even if it's, you know, even if they don't care about it anymore, it is still under the pretense of a fake relationship. And I love how Luke wants to make like a sentimental gesture to be like, yes, let's, you know, let's do this for real. But Luke realizes maybe he doesn't know. He's like thinking about, you know, after the parents' anniversary, and he's like, what are his parents like? What do I actually know about Oliver? Oliver has been very there for him, and he's been, you know, upfront with a lot of his problems, but we realize that Oliver hasn't talked much about his family or anything about them, / Luke hated him at one point and didn't want to take anything in. So he might have forgot anything like that happened. So he brings it up with Oliver. He's like, you know, who are they? How are they? What are they? Like, you know, give me the goss. Give me the who are they? What are their essence as a person? And he's like, well, Dad did this, Mum did this. And he's like, I don't want the surface level shit. I want to know. And Oliver just gives kind of more. Everything starts becoming a bit like fishy in a way. He's giving more. He's like, well, Dad likes golf and like this. And you're like, well, that's not really answering what we want. Like, I want to know, like, you know, who's the gossiper, who's crazy, who has this personality, who's gonna be wild at the party, like, what other family members are gonna be there, who are their friends, what are their you know, you want to know all this deep, interesting stuff, and Oliver's giving very surface level, and he's getting a little, like, back off ski. He's kind of just like, oh, like, what do you need to know? Which is weird. So we also bring up his brother, his sibling. Yes, Christopher will be there, he sighed, as will Mia. I believe they're flying in from Mozambique. He's hoping I didn't make it worse. You don't seem entirely happy about that. My brother is very accomplished. It makes me feel self-conscious. You're accomplished, I pointed out. You're a fucking barrister. Yes, but I don't go into war zones and save lives. You make sure that people get fair representation in court when they wouldn't otherwise. You see, even you can't make it sound glamorous. That's because I'm not you. When you talk about it, your eyes all light up, and you make it seem like it's the most important thing in the world. and then I want you to do right there. What? And then I want to do you right there. Oh my god. Okay, yep, got it. Sorry. It was... my brain's so slow. He blushed. Please tell me you won't say anything like that at the party. Are you kidding? That's exactly the sort of thing I'm planning to say at the party. My opening line was going to be, Hello Miriam, I'm Luke. I really enjoyed doing your son. I rolled my eyes. I know how to behave in polite company, Oliver. Forgive me. I'm tired. It's getting late, Lucian, and I'm going to court tomorrow. No, I'm sorry. I'm being weird and keeping you awake. Despite the mess we'd made, or probably I'd made, of the pillow talk, Oliver wrapped me up and held me like he always did. So I guess we're okay. Except I still felt kind of unsettled, and I wasn't sure why or where it was coming from, much less what to do about it. Maybe the problem was that there wasn't a problem, but I was just not used to that. My brain was trying to make one for me. Fuck you, brain. I nestled closer to my immaculate vegetarian lawyer and told myself to sleep. It is very, like... you know, he's just like, I'm sorry, I'm tired. Like, we've seen him just like, you know, when he's in the moment or wants to do things, he doesn't care. Like, he'll be fine. He's so smart. But he's just kind of like pushing these things away. And he's like, obviously been jealous and of a sibling. And as we're going to see, compared to a sibling would probably be utterly horrible all your life. But it's just the fact that he's not ready to open it up to Luke, which hurts a bit because I feel like obviously he could be, and he isn't preparing him for what's to come. Which, honestly, could, and Luke says this at one point, could you? But we're going into chapter 44, where the shitstorms start. So they get their beautiful grounds, beautiful house, rolling hills, rich people everywhere, and I think Luke would be a bit, I feel like anyone would be taken aback, and obviously it's one of those things where Oliver's just like, well, this is like home, but it's like probably like the nicest place ever, but they go up to his mother and father. Happy anniversary, he said, kissing his mother on the cheek and shaking his father by the hand. Oliver, Miriam straightened his tie. We're so glad you could come. She turned to one of the other guests. He's been having such a hard time at work lately. We were worried he wouldn't be able to make it. Oliver shifted slightly at my side. Work's been fine, Mother. Oh, darling, I'm sure you're coping very well. I'm just concerned. Again, a glance to someone else. He's not like his brother, you know. Christopher thrives under pressure. I understand, but I'm all right, really. Oliver didn't quite push me forward, but I didn't quite not. This is my boyfriend, Lucian O'Donnell. Oliver's gay, Oliver's father explained helpfully to the group. I shot Oliver a surprised look. Are you? You never told me. I'd say my attempt at humour had fallen flat, but that suggests that it had somewhere to fall from. This was rough. Like, this was already so rough to just see to have like Oliver compared her not believing her. Oh, you're so busy with your work, straightens your tie, and then be like the talking to the guest like, oh, he's having such a hard, like, they have to prove, and this is the thing that like I feel like, you know, not that I am part of that society, but you see it in like media and stuff when these like rich people are represented. The way that everything's done for show, I fucking hate. The way that they're like, oh, Oliver's busy at work, you know, a lawyer, but his brother, but they're never talking to you. It's very unpersonable. Like, they're just doing it for the clout, really. They're like, you know, talking to my friends, oh, I've got to explain everything about how good, or explain why they're not like this, because everyone else has an opinion on our lives, which fucking sucks too. And just like stranger tie, you're so busy. And you know, your brother does so much better, and it's just like, in a way, they're like pitting them against each other. And the way he like kisses his mother on the cheek and just shakes his father's hand, like there's no like hug or embrace, and he calls her mother. There seems like there's no connection there. Like, yes, I know they're his parents and that's what he knows and he probably is fine with it, but I feel like to a lot of people it feels very like cold or distant. There's like a lack of like, they don't really know each other in a way. Like, I feel like when I see my parents, I'm not, you know, giving my dad a handshake. Like, that's also he probably doesn't see his parents as often. There's so many little layers to this, and it is like you're just sitting here reading it like, oh shit, there's a lot going on. So they start going to talk to Christopher, his brother, but on the way, after they've just talked to the parents, Luke says, "Are you okay?" I tried. He cast me a rather impatient look. Of course, why wouldn't I be? Because that was awful? Lucian, please don't be difficult. My parents belong to a different generation. My mother worries about me a lot, and my father tends to be direct. I found myself sort of tugging at his sleeve. Excuse me, my mum belongs to that generation. Yes, well, your mother is quite an unusual person. But she... There was something I desperately needed to tell him. Something I was sure he needed to understand. But I couldn't quite work out what that was. She wouldn't talk to anyone like that. Oliver stopped walking abruptly. My parents raised me. My father worked every hour God sent. My mother gave up her career entirely. I don't want to have an argument with you, especially not here, and especially not now. But I'd thank you not to insult them in their own home. I'm sorry, Oliver. I hung my head. I didn't mean to. I'm here to support you. Then, he made this conversation is over gesture. Accept how things are. This is my life. It's not like your life. Please respect it. I didn't want to say that it didn't seem to respect him, but I didn't quite dare. It's hard to see like how much we like and enjoy Oliver, to see him completely like switch gears and switch up to be somewhat like rude in a way to Luke's mother and to Luke, and just to be like, this is how it is, this is how it has to be, you know, my parents did everything for me. And you just kind of think, yes. And you're just like, he's like, oh, my dad worked so hard and my mother gave up her career entirely. And you like, in a very cynical way, I'm just like, that is what they chose to do for you, and that's great. But that doesn't mean you have to sit there and accept every piece of shit that they throw at you. I'm just like, they are awful, and it's so hard, and they're rude, and it's like they had the kids for other people, really, to show that their kids could be good and push them in these directions, and they're not like in the directions they want, and they kind of like still trying to push them even as adults. And it just feels really sad and hard to read, and I feel horrible for Oliver, but that's like the life he knows, and he's just kind of like, this is it, this is how it has to be. And Luke kind of has that fresh perspective, been like, it doesn't have to. Like, obviously, you know, you would hope Oliver could have somewhat of a relationship with his parents, but he's like, you don't have to be walked all over either. And I feel like that would be hard for someone to kind of try and figure out for themselves. And also, they could just completely, like, obviously these are all hypotheticals and possibilities. They could just keep going and it'll be fine the way it is. But you just want Oliver to have that, maybe a bit of confidence to say something every now and then, and maybe something could get better. It could go worse, but these are how possibility works. You don't want to see him in this mood every time he goes there, because he's not the like really like beautiful person that we know in this situation. So we get to Christopher and Mia, and insults and rudeness is flung instantly. Sibling rivalry. Instantly absolutely scary. I hate it. I'm an only child. This gives me like, I feel like a lot of it is the parents. I feel like they have been pit against each other all their lives. They haven't had the opportunity to actually be able to get along. Like, they may kind of do in their own way, but I feel like they're both kind of fighting for both their parents' approval, but to be better than each other, but to not be the focus from the parents. I don't know, but it's tough and rough, and I hate it, and I'm scared, and I want to go. A snort from Christopher. Can I just point out that you're the one who is too busy reaming me out to introduce his own boyfriend? It's fine. I waved my hands in what I hope to be a situation diffusing fashion. Oliver told me all about you anyway. I can introduce myself. Ollie's told you about us, has he? Christopher's eyes gleamed wickedly. Go on then. What has he said? Whoops. Your doctors, and that you've been in, I want to say Mumbai, but I think that's wrong. And you're very nice people, and he cares about you very much. Yeah, I think he maybe said one of those things, if you're lucky. I'm sorry, Christopher. It was Oliver's coldest voice. You're not that interesting of a topic of conversation. I'd be devastated by that comeback, except you never say anything about everyone. You've told us more about Luke than you have about your last 6 boyfriends, and all you told us about him was his name. I put my hand to my heart. I feel so special. You should, Mia smugged a smile across the no man's land between siblings. He mentioned you without being asked and everything. Christopher was scrutinizing me with an slightly awkward way. He's not your usual type, Ollie, which is probably a good thing. Hard as it may be for you to believe, Oliver sneered, I don't choose my romantic partners to please you. True, Christopher had a good pause game. You choose them to please Mum and Dad. There was a deeply nasty silence. I hear from Father, said Oliver placidly. You're starting a family. There was another, somehow even nastier silence, at the end of which Mia fixed her brother-in-law with an irate glare. Fuck off, Oliver. I'm getting a drink. She fucked off and got a drink. What the hell? Christopher rounded furiously on Oliver. Is wrong with you, you sanctimonious little shit? Oliver folded his arms. It was a perfectly civil question. No, it was stirring, and you know it was stirring. There wouldn't be anything to stir if you stopped dangling the possibility of grandchildren over our parents. That is not... Oh, it absolutely is. You can't bear the idea of them not worshipping you. Well, this was fun, and I had sort of signed up to have Oliver's back here, but I didn't think that stretched to watching him be a dick to his brother, who, to be fair, was been equally dickish, but this was getting way too much. You know, I forced myself briefly into the conversation. I think I need a drink too. And before anyone could stop me, I made a dash for the tent. Now, I can't really comment on a sibling rivalry that much, or getting pitted against siblings by your parents. But this is a lot. And that's what I have to say. Like, I just feel like they've just, like, been, like... Right, and I've said this, raised to just go at each other. And I feel like I'm hoping maybe eventually they could come together. I don't think in this book with what's left. Maybe we have a little bit of like a resolution and a going forward, especially with in the next chapter, Mia and Luke kind of getting along a little bit, which is fun. So we should probably just go straight into that and then I can talk about it more. Truthfully, I was almost angry at how little Oliver had prepared me for this. But at the same time, I could see why he hadn't. That alone made me feel sorry for him. I guess I had to play this carefully. It must be difficult for Oliver, because it's pretty clear David and Miriam have a way easier time with Christopher's life choices. Ha! Mia drained her glass too. Okay, I'm getting the feeling I'm missing something. They're definitely supportive. It seemed like Mia was being careful as I was, and they make sure he never forgets just how supportive they're being. Anyway, I'm sorry I yelled at your boyfriend. I'm usually not so. Actually, I probably am, but fuck it. The Blackwoods bring out the worst in me. Yeah, I'm starting to think that's a pattern. Though, I added quickly, for the record, David really did say the family thing. She drove her toe into the perfectly kept lawn. Of course he did. But it was still a cheap shot of Oliver to go there. He doesn't seem to have handled today very well. I can see how much you like him. Still not feeling particularly forgiving right now. I take it, God, I don't even know how to ask this. It's not this big sensitive issue, or at least it's only sensitive because, from where I'm standing, it's crystal fucking clear. We don't want kids. David and Miriam want us to have kids, and they seem to think their opinion matters as much as ours does. Shit. That's shit. Especially because now it's this Cold War where they act like it's just a matter of time and Christopher feels guilty for disappointing them, and I'm pissed off that he won't shut it down. To be fair, they do seem like hard people to shut down. She shrugged. Oh, it's always been like this, and obviously the last thing I want for is him to feel he has to choose between his parents and his wife. Well, I risked a grin. You're clearly a lot better for him than they are, so maybe it would be an improvement. That made her laugh. It's an idea, but he's been trying to hang on to their approval for nearly 30 years. That's not something you just walk away from. I wouldn't know. My dad fucked off when I was 3. And I'm increasingly glad my parents are normal. Well, adjusted human beings. Wait, those exist? So I love this banter. This banter is fantastic. I think Luke and Mia may be the ones to bridge the gap between Oliver and Christopher. And that could be a good thing because they don't have like as many stakes. Obviously Luke's new, but like a sense of fresh air and kind of is being honest with her and she's opening up to him, which is very nice. So Oliver and Christopher have come back. Oliver's ready to apologize to stop have been a dick to Mia. I went back gladly back to Oliver and stuck my hand into his. Do you want to give me a tour? Of course, Lucian. I'm sorry, I've neglected you. Actually, I think you'll find I ran away from you, because it was like a gunfight at the OK Corral back there, and I thought I was going to get caught in the verbal crossfire. I know. I'm very aware I'm behaving badly. He glanced back to his sister-in-law. Mia, I really do apologize. It won't happen again. We left the marquee and went for what should, under other circumstances, have been a nice walk around the garden. It was a bright summery day, and I had champagne, and there were flowers and butterflies, but Oliver was vibrating like my gentleman's massager without the fun side. A, funny little bit, but B, it's just... it's so hard to see Oliver this way. The way he has been built up through like this whole book, to see how this is how it's happening. It's just, it's really rough. I'm not unhappy. It's my parents' anniversary. I'm not handling things well. I wasn't sure how to say, you're not handling things very well because your parents are being assholes to you. I wasn't even sure it was my place. So instead I tried, I don't think it's you. I mean, Christopher isn't exactly covering himself in glory either. Christopher is always covered in glory, at least as far as our parents are concerned. You mean, apart from the fact they keep pressuring him to have kids he clearly doesn't want? That's aimed at me, not him. My parents are very understanding about my sexuality, but I can't help but be aware that it has come has come with attendant disappointments. Look, I flung up my hands. This is purely hypothetical because it's way too early for this in the relationship for this conversation. But if you want kids, we can have kids. You mean I could adopt children? It's not the same thing. At least, not from my parents' perspective. Okay, this was a whole other can of problematic words, which is, yes, I agree, and it's fucked, but I can understand how his parents would see that, and is it not just absolutely so crazy and insane that the whole thing about them wanting Christopher to have kids is semi-just aimed at Oliver because he can't technically, and obviously he's like, because he can't do adoption because they don't see that as right, and then he's like, well, you could do surrogacy, and then they're like, well, that's not exactly, and he's just like, at some point, I would just be like, you can't fucking win with these people, they suck, I can see, obviously they're his parents and he loves them dearly, but God, are they putting a mental strain on him, and I feel absolutely horrified for him and just so sad, and I just love him so much, and seeing him completely be put down and shit on is hard, and all these bloody passive aggressive tones is awful. But we have David's speech, Oliver's father, to end off our chapters for this week. And Oliver and Christopher, but seriously, we're tremendously proud of both our boys. One doctor, one lawyer, but somehow neither of them making any bloody money. Over the years, our family has continued to grow, our most recent addition being the lovely Mia, Christopher's wife, and also our last best hope for grandchildren on account of Oliver being a screaming bender. I stifled a sigh. You see, it's okay because it's the ironic kind of homophobia. But now enough about the boys, David went on, because today is about Miriam and myself, and I, for one, couldn't ask for a more beautiful wife. I mean, I could ask, but I probably wouldn't get one. He lofted a glass. To Miriam. We obediently Miriamed back. To David. Miriam's speech, at least, had the virtue of being short. To David, we echoed, while I put an arm around Oliver and looked for a hole we could hide in. Oliver, my little guy, my big guy, my guy, I can't wait to read on. Like, I absolutely can't wait to see what's going to happen, because I'm just so, like, my heart, like, goes out for him so much, because he's just, I don't know, it's just, like, belittled, degraded. I just feel like he hasn't had someone in his corner. Like, he's getting, you know, his parents definitely, like, there's love there in a way, and there's there's affection and there's care, but it's just so like wrapped in different emotions and ulterior motives and different meanings, and it's just not, it doesn't feel pure or genuine, which I think is really rough. And it feels bad, especially like when Oliver insulted Luke and his mum, and just like to know that when Oliver was at his house, he kind of enjoyed it so much because they were fun and joyful and full of love, and then you see this and just, oh, I can just imagine maybe Oliver really likes Luke's mum in a way and he didn't mean it, but like maybe he's a bit jealous in a way because it's something he doesn't have with his mum. But there's just so many layers to these chapters, and I'm going to be thinking about it literally all week because this is just how I do, and that's why I can't wait till I get to post it the week later, so I can actually have, like, if anyone talks about different things or their thoughts or opinions, I have people to read their thoughts too, because I go a bit stir crazy in the week after I record, because I'm thinking about it all the time. But Oliver, my guy, oh, I feel like my heart just, like, is a bit broken after this week, and it's not even in a bad way, it's just, like, it just hurts, do you know what I mean, to see the character that we love, who has shined so brightly and fiercely, even in the chapters before, just like been this hero, this knight for Luke at his time of need, to just be so like cast aside in this family and fighting and being angry and not the way we know him. But I hope either my thoughts are they leave, or maybe Oliver cracks the shits, or like loses it, or speaks his mind, which I think would be really good, or Luke actually like really gets to him in a way with like a really nice cute little conversation speech and maybe hits it. So either way, I'm gonna be excited to read on. Like, I can't wait to next week to see how this is all gonna be resolved. But other than that, let me know what your favorite parts of these chapters were, or what you think of the whole Oliver situation, because it's very interesting for what we've read so far. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed it, having a fantastic day, and I hope to see you in the next one.